PDUs, they are like power-ups for your CAPM journey. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. I am Cornelius Fichtner from pmprepcast.com, and I am going to launch you into the next level of your credential lifecycle, which is mastering the art of credential renewal and PDUs. Here is our agenda. Well, basically, even though there are like 7 or 8 bullet points here, our agenda has 3 sections. We'll start out with what are PDUs, then how many and what types do you need, and then we have a long section where we review the many ways that you can actually earn PDUs. There are going to be tips throughout this particular live stream here, and we're going to close with take action. Before we get started, if you are looking for PDUs, then allow me to recommend these 2 resources here. They're both mine, and we're going to look at them in more detail later on, so just on a very high level. On the left, we have the PM podcast at pm-podcast.com, where you can listen to interviews and earn PDUs. And on the right, we have the PDU podcast, specifically designed webinars with PDU certificates. And because we are once again live here on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, if you are watching live, please use the text chat and send me your questions about the CAPM, and I will answer them here live on air. All right, so if this is the first you have ever heard of PMI certification renewal and PDUs, you may be going, wait, what? I have to renew my certification? Like, you mean I have to retake the exam again? The good news here is no, you do not have to retake the exam. Here is what this looks like. So it starts all with you passing your CAPM exam there, the box on the far left. And then once you pass your exam, you are going to enter into the renewal cycle, which is the circle there on the right-hand side. It starts with your certification being valid for 3 years. Then at the top, you see you have to earn PDUs. Then it goes over to the right. You have to pay a fee to PMI. And then at the bottom, PMI will renew your certification, which means it's once again valid for 3 years. Earn PDUs, pay the fee, renew, and so on. So for as long as you want to be remaining CAPM certified, you have to keep this circle on the right going. And there are 2 ways in how you can do this on the very highest level. Whether you are a PMI member or not, that is the question. So if you've done it right, and as you are preparing for your CAPM exam, you want to become a PMI member because the discounts and the benefits you get as you are preparing for the exam, they are much greater than the money you pay to PMI for your certification. But once you have passed your exam, the question becomes, do I want to remain a member of PMI or do I not? This is a personal decision. I have personally always seen the value in it. So I do pay the $129 membership fee there that you can see. And overall, my PMP certification costs me $447 every 3 years because I'm a member of PMI as well. But for some people, you know, there's a financial consideration as well. They say, no, I'm not going to be a PMI member. I will just pay the higher renewal fee that you see there at the bottom. So if you're a PMI member, it costs you about $450. If you're not a PMI member, it costs you about $150. So you save $300 right there. But you definitely want to be a PMI member as you are preparing for your exam. Now, with that out of the way, let's answer the question, what are PDUs? According to the PMI CCR Handbook, the Continuing Certification Requirements Handbook. They are a measuring unit used to quantify approved learning and professional service activities. I know this means absolutely nothing to anybody. Here's a translation. For each hour that you spend learning, you will earn 1 PDU. It's really that simple. As you go through that renewal cycle that we saw, you need a certain number of PDUs, and every hour that you spend doing something, learning, volunteering, you get 1 PDU. Okay? So, for example, you attend a 3-hour seminar, you have just earned 3 PDUs. If you give a 1-hour presentation at your local PMI chapter, you have just earned 1 PDUs. Also works in fractions. If you listen to half an hour of a podcast, you have just earned half a PDU. Now, when it comes to PDUs, there is one more thing that we have to do, just briefly here. Contact hours versus PDUs. There are these two terms that I want to clearly delineate. So here is the date when you take your CAPM exam. As you are preparing for your CAPM exam, you take a CAPM exam preparation course. So you get training for this exam preparation. The training hours, you need 23 of those. They are called contact hours. Only after your exam, so once you pass your exam, do we call them PDUs, right? Many people call them PDUs before the exam as well, but that's technically incorrect. Before the exam, we call them contact hours. After the exam, we call them PDUs. And this is now important. The rest of this presentation is about this here, after you have passed your exam. So if you are here and you are still preparing for your CAPM exams, then thank you for joining us and congratulations, because this will become very important to you. Once you pass your CAPM exam, you need to know all of this. You need to understand how this works with PDUs and the renewal cycle and all of that. Right now, it may be a little bit fuzzy. It's in the future. I'm still preparing for the exam, but congratulations on being here and showing interest and understanding that this becomes very important as soon as you have passed your exam. Now, the authoritative source when it comes to your PMI credential recertification is that handbook that I mentioned, the CCR Handbook, Continuing Certification Requirements Handbook. You can find this here at this link, pm-prepcast.com/CCRHB, the CCR Handbook. My recommendation is, once you have passed your exam, download it and read it, because it gives you all the details about how to earn PDUs and what they are. Most of what's in that handbook we are going to go through in this webinar right now, but oftentimes people like to also read things about it. And the reason why I'm giving you a link there, that short link, that CCRHB link, is because PMI, in its infinite wisdom, keeps changing where they store these documents online. So this is simply a forwarding link. As soon as PMI changes this, then I will update my link, because if I give you the direct link right now, 2 weeks from now, that direct link will no longer work. Thank you, PMI. Okay. At the very highest level, PMI divides its CCR, Continuing Certification Requirements, into 2 areas: education and giving back. This is how and where you can earn your PDUs. Most of us earn PDUs by education. You read a book, you go to a course, you listen to a podcast, you watch a YouTube video, something like that. That is considered education. And few of us give back. I do the project management podcast, I do presentations. That's how giving back works. Now, because most of us do education, I'm going to focus primarily on education from here on forward. And in the education area, PMI has this here. This is what they call the talent triangle. And PMI says, when it comes to education, we want you to learn about ways of working, because it's clear there is more one way to do project management and get things done today than there used to be in the 1960s. So they encourage you to master as many ways of doing projects as possible, so that you can learn about the right technique to use at the right time. PMI also wants to learn about power skills. These are interpersonal skills, leadership, communication, an innovative mindset, empathy, those kind of things, right? They will help you to work with your colleagues, with your team members, with a variety of stakeholders. That is a critical component when you are part of a project where change is implemented in your organization. And then at the bottom, business acumen. Even though as a CAPM you are, an associate of project management, it is still important for you to understand how exactly does this project that I am working on fit into the bigger picture? How does it support my company's strategic goals and strategic plans? Now, how many PDUs do we need in this talent triangle area when it comes to education? Here are the total PDUs, first of all, okay? So we start at the top there with this group of generalist certifications from PMI. So a PMP, for instance, needs 60 PDUs. So does the PBA and the PGMP. Then in the middle, we have the specialist certifications, agile, risk, and scheduling professionals. They all need 30 PDUs. And the one that interests us most right now is the CAPM there at the bottom. As a CAPM, you need 15 PDUs in total, and 9 of those have to come. Remember, we talked about education and giving back, right? So 9 of them have to come from education. So that's the minimum. And you can give back a maximum of 6, and that adds up to 15 together. I'll give you examples in a little bit. So right now, if this is the first time that you're hearing anything about PDUs and the talent triangle and these areas, it's going to seem a little bit confusing. Don't worry. Get through the next 3 to 4 minutes with me while we look at the theory and the foundation of this all. And then we're going to go into examples, and I'm giving you specific ideas on how to earn these PDUs. But we want to go through this theory right here. And I am next going to jump into the education. And so the table that we see now here, this is only education PDUs, and what interests us as a CAPM is there at the bottom. So when it comes to the talent triangle, PMI requires that as a CAPM, you earn a minimum of 2 PDUs in ways of working, a minimum of 2 PDUs in the power skills, and a minimum of 2 PDUs in business acumen, right? So that's just the minimum that you need. But from the previous slide, you need 9 in total. So the additional 3 there that you need, 2, 2, and 2, and 3 is 9. They can come from anywhere, okay? And this is very important because that means those 3, it doesn't matter whether they are in ways of working, power skills, business acumen, or whichever. You can put it onto 1, you can divide it up, as long as you then have a total of 9 in all 3 areas right there. So to summarize, okay, as a CAPM, you need 15 PDUs total. 9 must come from education with, again, a minimum 2 of ways of working, 2 of power skills, 2 of business acumen. And if you want to, you can have a maximum of 6 in the giving back area. Okay, so Mohammed from LinkedIn asks this question here. Are 60 PDUs enough to get both CAPM and PMP renewal? The answer, Mohammed, is yes, it is enough. So if you have multiple certifications, say you are both a PMP and a CAPM, or you are a PMP and an ACP and a CAPM, okay, then specifically your question, PMP and CAPM, as that, if I had that, I would focus on my PMP renewal because I need 60 there and I only need 15 in the CAPM. And because I need so many more for the PMP, the 60 from my PMP will 100% also cover the CAPM. Okay? Here in this conversation, we're only focusing on I am a CAPM, I have nothing else, so that's the conversation. But if you are a PMP and you get your 60 there, your CAPM is perfectly covered there. So yes, that is a perfectly valid question and a concern to have that. But yeah, as a PMP, you're covered in your CAPM. Now, let's do a few examples here for specific the CAPM, right? And how exactly this works and the minimums and the maximums and all of that. Now, remember, you need a total of 15 PDUs. That's what in the far rightmost column we have to get. And there are many ways of doing that. Okay, in the first row, we have an absolutely lazy CAPM who only did the absolute minimum. 2 in ways of working, 2 in power skills, 2 in business acumen, and then 6 in giving back. Well, that only adds up to 12. This CAPM cannot renew because there are 3 PDUs missing. All right. Then in the second row, we have a CAPM who did a lot of giving back. So again, we have 2, 2, 2, and then 9 in the giving back. Well, if you add that up, 2, 2, 2, and 9, that's 15. But in the giving back as a CAPM, the maximum PMI allows is 6. So even though this adds up to a total of 15, PMI will say, no, you can't have 9, you can only have 6. So 2, 2, and 2, and 6, that is still only 12. In the next row, you can see that the total is 20 PDUs, which is more than what is needed. But this CAPM only has 1 PDU in the business acumen skills area. And you have to have at least 2 in each skill area. So this CAPM, in order to renew, is going to have to earn 1 more PDU. Even though they already have 20, they need to add 1 more PDU in business acumen. In the fourth row, we see this CAPM. Finally, somebody has done it right. This person has chosen to earn 3 in ways of working, 3 in power skills, 3 in business acumen, and then also giving back 6. That gives a total of 15, and we're finally green in the total column. This one here also meets all the requirements. This CAPM met the minimum for power skills and business acumen. You can see 2 and 2 there in column 2 and 3. And then remember the additional 3 that you need, they can go anywhere. So they decided, yeah, I'll do the 2 in ways of working and I'm putting the 3 here as well. So 5, 2, 2, and 6, that's a total of 15. This is a perfectly valid way of doing that. In our 6th example, this CAPM says, forget about giving back. I don't like public speaking. I don't want to do anything in giving back. Instead, I am going to take a course in ways of working for 5 hours, something in power skills for 5 hours, and business acumen 5 hours. That gives me a total of 15. Remember, the maximum in giving back is 6. The minimum is 0. So this is perfectly valid to have 0 giving back because there is no minimum. Well, the minimum is 0. So 0 is the minimum you have to have. Therefore, this is a perfectly valid way of doing it. And then finally, in row 7 here, we have a CAPM who decided to primarily focus on ways of working, getting 14 hours of training there, then doing 2 hours of power skills and 2 hours of business acumen. That gives us a total of 18. So he's gone above and beyond. Now, I'm going to explain later on why 18, the color 18 there, is turquoise when we talk about rollover PDUs. All right. So remember, if you're watching live, please do feel free to ask any questions that you may have if something is unclear to you from these examples here. Now, we're going on with early takeaways. If you are PMI certified as a CAPM, you need to earn PDUs. You need to learn about ways to earn PDUs, and you need a plan, you need a roadmap. As a CAPM, you have to earn half a PDU per month for every future month after your exam. And this is really easy as a CAPM. Half an hour, you can invest half an hour of your time doing something for your education, watching a YouTube video, listening to a podcast, reading 2 or 3 articles about business acumen, maybe from Forbes.com, right? Or from HBR, whatever it may be. They all qualify, as you will see in a moment. 30 minutes investment in your training is not a lot every month. But if you don't have it, if you don't do a plan, then, well, you will have this situation here. If you earn 0 PDUs, you end up with 0 certifications. PMI will not renew your certification at the end of 3 years if you don't have your PDUs. They give you a grace period. It's like, oh my God, I totally forgot. You can now catch up and quickly earn those 15 PDUs to recertify, but that you've forgotten, right? So make sure that you earn your half a PDU every month as a CAPM. So how do you earn your PDUs? There are many ways to earn PDUs, and PMI has divided them into these ways here. Under education, you can see there are 5 bullets, and under giving back, there are also 5 bullets. So under education, there are 5 ways to earn your PDUs, and under giving back, there are also 5 ways to earning your PDUs. Now, the good news here is, and I'm going to flip forward and backward here, this is the online reporting system. This is where you're going to input your PDUs. Now, the left blue area there, that's the ways of working on education. That matches exactly this list here. And the right blue area matches the giving back. So exactly, I'm going to go through this exactly how PMI wants you to report them, starting there with the first one, which is course or training in the education section. Right. So this is the number one way that most of us have received training and will receive training. You sign up for a course somewhere. This could be an in-person course. This could be an online course. Doesn't matter. Every hour that you spend in that course will give you 1 PDU. And of course, if it's a 4.5-hour course, you'll get 4.5 PDUs. When it comes to the, how do I prove that I had that course? Well, yeah, there's a registration letter, there is a certificate, there's some sort of a documentation that shows that you have received that particular training. Now, PI does not make you upload that certificate, but you need to have it. So when you claim those 4.5 hours of that course as 4.5 PDUs on the PMI website, PMI has artificial intelligence that they run over this. And normally, in my case, I submit my PDUs, and then within 2 minutes, I get a message that says, we have received your claim. And the second message is, we have accepted your claim. Okay, that's what you usually get. If you get audited, then PMI will make you upload the certificate and prove that those PDUs are actually true and correct. So make sure that you get that registration and certificate. Then second, organization meetings. And by organization, they mean professional organization. So they mean PMI chapter meetings. They mean meetings from, if you're in England, from the APM, or from the ASAPM, or the IPMA, or from your local agile project management group, right? If there is a meeting from a professional organization and you attend that very often, these meetings also include a presentation. And this presentation, again, very often is an hour long. And that will give you one PDU. Obviously, if it's only a 30-minute presentation at your meeting, then you get half a PDU. But, you know, it is what it is. Again, have a registration letter at the end or some form of proof to show that you have actually attended that particular training. Then next on the list of education, we have online or digital media. This is self-paced learning conducted online through a variety of digital media, a podcast, online webinars, YouTube, live streams, right? PMI says they have to be relevant, they have to be purposeful, and they have to be knowledgeable, right? So it can't just be anything and everything. It has to be relevant to project management. There has to be a purpose to it. The people have to have some sort of gravitas behind what they're doing. And again, you know, 1 hour equals 1 PDU. And since most of these things are online, and, you know, if you're watching a YouTube video, nobody's going to give you a certificate. How do you do that? Well, I have actually a log file, an Excel file, that in which I track what I do. You know, on this date, I have watched this video from 10 a.m. to 10:30, whatever, right? And here is what I've learned, right? And when I claim my PDUs, I actually put that information right into my PDU claim in the comments. I say, here are my learning notes, all right? And in that way, PMI already has my learning notes from that particular YouTube video. I listen to a lot of podcasts, right? Talking about podcasts, remember I showed these to you earlier on. My two podcasts that I have, the Project Management Podcast on the left and the PDU podcast on the right. So the PM podcast is the older one. This has a free option and a paid option. Irregularly, about twice a month, I have an interview that is being published, and there is no certificate. So this is just like watching a YouTube video. If you listen to the PM podcast, you know, this is self-reporting, and you have to track what you're listening to and what the PDUs are that you can get for each episode. I have a PDU list for every episode. So I tell you exactly, episode 495, for example, that is power skills. All right. And then on the right, I created the PDU podcast specifically to provide paid PDUs with packages. So I have a 60 PDU package for PMPs. I also have a 15 PDU package for CAPMs. And obviously that 15 PDU package covers all the minimums. So if you buy that 15 PDU package, you're done. You get 100% of what you need, specifically designed so that it covers all the minimums and does everything that you need to have from previously. It's webinars, and you get a certificate at the end in case you get audited. If you're interested in that, for my free project management podcast, pm-podcast.com. And for the webinar-based premium PDU podcast, it's pducast.com, pducast.com. But you can also read a book. PMI says reading is a perfectly valid training exercise. So if you read a book, then or an article or a blog post as well, that is perfectly valid. Remember earlier on in the examples, we had that one CAPM who was missing just one PDU there. I think it was in the business acumen area. Well, in this particular case, you know, you can use reading to fill your gaps, right? One PDU missing, well, spend 1 hour reading and report your PDU in that way, right? Here is also something that we have learned over time. PMI often does its audits when you submit large numbers of PDUs. So if you're reading a lot of books, if you're listening to a lot of podcasts, don't go in, this is especially true for PMPs, and claim all 60 PDUs at once or all 15 PDUs as a CAPM at once. Divide it up, right? I have listened to 5 hours of podcasts. I am claiming 5 PDUs. And then, 2 or 3 months later on, I have listened to another 5. I'm claiming another 5, right? But obviously, you want to be extremely honest, right? This is perfectly understood. I'm just telling you how to report your PDUs in a way that sort of lowers the threshold a little bit in terms of being audited. I've personally never been audited, so I can't really tell you how it is, but I know from others who have been that it is a very painless process. You upload the information, PMI reviews it, and it gets accepted. That's pretty much how it goes. Then there is also informal learning, structured discussion, that's interaction with others. This is about being coached. So if you are coaching somebody, we'll talk about that later on, but if you are the coachee, I think that's what it's called, right? If you're being coached, if you have a mentor who mentors you, helps you learn more about project management, or if you attend a lunch and learn event at your company, that can also be earned, help you earn your PDUs, 1 hour, 1 PDU as always. And especially again here, how do you prove that somebody has coached you, that you've had an hour of coaching session? Well, you make a note of it. You have a log file. You track this, exactly what happened and all of that, okay? And what you've learned as well during that coaching session. That will also give it to you. So that's it. We have covered the left-hand side, education, courses, meetings, online digital media, reading, and informal learning. Those are the ways of earning PDUs in education. So let's move on. Let's talk about giving back. The first one you always want to do, work as a practitioner. Yes, just by doing your job and working as a CAPM on projects will give you 2 PDUs. So this is just built into the system. If you are working as a CAPM on a project, you just earn 2 PDUs just for doing your job on the project. So this is something that you definitely want to claim. With every cycle, put in those 2 PDUs because they are free PDUs because, well, you are employed as a CAPM, you work on a project as a CAPM, you get your 2 PDUs. There you go. So those are free PDUs, so to speak. Then creating new content. If you are, for example, doing a presentation, you're writing a book, a blog, articles, you're creating a webinar, or in my case, I am the host of the Project Management Podcast, and over 3 years, I publish 50, 60, 70 episodes of that podcast, right? So there is a lot of work that goes into it. So I, as a PMP, can claim PDUs for hosting and managing that podcast right there. If you have a blog, if you write, if you give presentations, this is what it is. Oh, and it is more than just the hour. So, for example, I gave a keynote presentation here in Tucson on artificial intelligence in project management. It took me about 2 hours to prepare that keynote and then 1 hour to deliver that keynote. That's 3 PDUs because the preparation time is included in the PDUs you can claim for giving back. Okay, so preparation and actual presentation is there. Then giving a presentation on topics relevant to the profession. There we go. Let's see. Did I get that wrong? Create new content. Yeah, so this is the creation of the presentation here. And this is actually then the delivering of the presentation, right? And this is what you can claim. Again, 1 hour PDU. Now, I later on flew to Budapest and I gave the same presentation in Budapest. I didn't have to prepare anymore. So for my time in Budapest, I get 1 PDU. So I get the preparation time when I gave it here in Tucson, plus 1 hour presenting. And then in Budapest, I only get the 1 hour because I didn't have to prepare anymore. I already knew my stuff. Then sharing knowledge to help others, right? This is now the situation where you are the coach. So if you are coaching a junior member on your team in project management, for every hour that you coach them, that you mentor them, you can spend 1 hour. Again, you have to keep a log file and track this and know what you've done. Okay? That's the important thing. And then volunteering is the last one in this section here. PMI has an active community around the world, but so has the APM in the UK, or the IPMA around the world as well. There are many agile groups that are looking for volunteers. So if you want to get active in your local organization, doesn't matter, doesn't have to be PMI, you can earn 1 PDU for every hour spent volunteering for your professional organization. And there you have it. Education, how to earn PDUs in education on the right, and how to do it on the left. If you are a bit overwhelmed with all of these here, I wouldn't be too surprised. Let me give you the ones that anyone can do. Here we go. Okay, so these are, in my opinion, the 5 things that anyone can do. You can take a course of training. You can sign up for a course and earn your PDUs that way. You can listen to a podcast. You can watch a YouTube video on project management topics and use online and digital media to earn your PDUs. You can read a book. That's easy. And then on the giving back side, working as a practitioner, like I said, those are free PDUs. You want to claim those. They're just there for the taking. And I strongly recommend that you get involved with your local professional organization and you volunteer for them, because you meet other project managers or people who are working in the project management field in that way. So these are the 5 that I would recommend that anybody can do. Right. Earlier on, we had the examples where we had the number 18, which was turquoise. And I said, we'll be getting back to that once we get to the rollover. Well, here we are. Okay. Let me give you an example how rollover works. So this is a CAPM who in year 1 earned 5 PDUs. Then in year 2 earned 5 more. And in year 3, they earned 10. Remember, you need 15, right? 5, 5, and 5, that's 20. And that, of course, means that these 5 that are extra there in year 3, they will roll over to the next cycle. Here is the important statement. Only PDUs from the 3rd year can roll over. Let's do an example on that. So in this particular case here, we have a CAPM who earned 5 PDUs in year 1, 20 PDUs in year 2, and then in year 3, just 1 PDU. Okay. Now, I said only PDUs from year 3 can roll over. That means only 1 PDU can roll over here. Now, some people may say, wait a second, what about all those PDUs I earned in year 2? That is unfair. I'm losing PDUs here, right? Yeah, no, you are never losing PDUs. Don't look at it from that perspective. In year 2, you have earned 20 hours of training, of education. You have invested 20 hours in your profession, in your career. Okay? You're not losing PDUs. That is the absolute wrong way to look at it. You have improved yourself. That's the way to look at it. So, yeah, granted, those PDUs, they don't all count for you, but you can say that I have really improved my experience through learning all of that. How many PDUs can roll over? The one that interests us most is at the bottom, 5. So the example that we had here on the previous with at the very top there, rollover 5, that is the maximum that can roll over for a CAPM into the new cycle, which means that if the 5 roll over, you only need to earn 10 in the next cycle because you already have 5. Now, earlier on, I told you that don't forget, if you earn 0 PDUs, you will have 0 certifications. Well, there is a similar statement. If you earn 15 PDUs and then forget to renew, you will still end up with 0 certifications. So just earning your PDUs isn't good enough. You have to earn your PDUs, you have to report your PDUs, and you also have to renew. PMI is very good. They do send you reminder emails as it gets closer to the end of your 3-year cycle. So if you forget, then it's not PMI's fault because they told you about this many times by sending you all these emails, right? So that means you need a plan to earn PDUs and you need a process to earn PDUs so that you do it right and you don't forget. I do have a podcast episode about this. I have this 10-step process here that shows you from start to finish how to earn your PDUs. Now, this is not about, go read a book or take a course. This is about the process of actually earning and planning and doing the PDUs and making sure you don't forget and making sure you report them, right? So that process, the process of actually making sure that you get your PDUs. Okay, so that's what this is all about. This is specifically recorded and written for PMPs, but because it doesn't matter if you're a PMP, an ACP, a CAPM, an RMP, the process of what you have to go through and how you have to earn and do these PDUs is exactly the same. So watch pm-podcast.com/455 and know how to have a plan and earn your PDUs and report them. If after watching this video right here or watching episode 455, you still have questions about PDUs, please feel free to go to this link here, pm-prepcast.com/askcornelius. This is my PDU forum, and you can just put your question into the PDU forum, and I will be happy to ask any PDU questions that you may have. We're getting close to the end here. I have a couple of take action slides for you. First of all, for people who kind of know about PDUs, so watch the podcast, right? So watch pm-podcast.com/455. It will really give you a solid approach to earning your PDUs and claiming your PDUs and not forgetting about your PDUs. Download the CCR handbook and read it at pm-prepcast.com/ccrhb. But if you've made it this far through this lesson here, you pretty much know 90% of it. So there's only a little bit more that you can get out of the handbook, but always interesting to review it. Anyway, and then do go to PMI and check your balance at ccrs.pmi.org. That will show you what your current PDU balance is. And then, of course, earn PDUs, report your PDUs, and repeat until you have your 15 PDUs, and then renew at the end of the 3-year cycle. If this is your very first time dealing with PDUs, here is my action items for first timers. Go ahead, earn a few PDUs. Maybe watch a podcast, read a couple of articles, 1 or 2 PDUs. It doesn't have to be much. Then go to the PMI website, ccrs.pmi.org, and report those PDUs. And now take a look what happens. What did PMI do? What emails did I get? Where did they put them on my dashboard? What has gone up? What has stayed zero? How does this work? So just report a few so that you get your feet wet, that you see how this works. And then, now that you have your first experience in earning and reporting PDUs, keep doing that. Earn your next PDUs, report your PDUs, and repeat that until you have 15 PDUs, and then renew at the end of your cycle. And that's pretty much it for how to earn your PDUs as a CAPM, how to report them, and how to renew every 3 years. Thank you so much, everybody, for having spent this time with me and learning about PDUs. I much appreciate it. Until next time. But before you go, this lesson is part of a series in which I guide you to be better prepared for your CAPM exam. So please visit pm-prepcast.com/CAPM guide, and that'll take you to YouTube. Watch all of them.